Now let's take a look at the build you just saw in the ISA. That was a Polaron Disruptor build on the Jem'Hadar Vanguard Dreadnought Cruiser T6 from the Vanguard pack. This is the first Polaron build I've ever used, so it might not be the greatest, but it works. So yeah. Here are the stats for the ship while sitting still. For weapons, I use the advanced piezo Polaron dual cannons from the Lucari Reputation. Then I use Polaron dual cannons, pen, and another one with pen, and another one with pen. Then I use the Elite Fleet Intervention Protomatter Deflector array, and from the Colony, Fleet Colony. Then I use the prevailing fortified twin impulse engines from the Competitive Reputation, the engineering one, so when you heal you get a speed boost, gives you more control than if you use the tactical one, for instance. Then I use the Terran Task Force Quantum Capacitor Warp Core. I personally like this Warp Core a lot. You can also use the Elite Fleet Core or the Competitive Core for the 3-piece. And then I use the prevailing innervated resilient shield array from the Competitive Reputation with the critical chance and crit severity bonus. And then that gives a 2-piece set for the competitive that gives hull capacity, starship control expertise, and weapon specializations. And like I said, if you use the warp core, you get this one too, which is also very good for survivability. Then in the aft, I use 4 turrets, 3 Polaron pens, and a Vodwar Polaron turret, which is just a turret I slapped on here. Then the devices is the red matter capacitor, the subspace field modulator, and the energy amplifier. For the consoles, I use the dynamic power redistribution module for the clicky, and the passive is great. Then the tachyonetic converter for the turn rate and the critical severity and chance from the Lobi store. This one's from the, on the Fed side, it's from the 23rd Century Dread. And on the KDF and ROM, and you can get it off exchange. Then the binaural infusion circuits for the critical severity. And the domino console for the accuracy and the clicky. And the Lucari console from the Reputation, which gives Polaron damage, flight turn rate, and shield capacity, and it gives the 2-piece set of 15% Polaron damage, 50% photon projectile damage, and starship drain expertise. Then for the side consoles, I use the hostile acquisition for the accuracy rating. The clicky is nice on a boss, but it's more about the accuracy rating, testing that out. And then I use the assimilated module for the crit severity and the crit chance, and the temporal disentanglement suite for the crit severity and chance while my aux power is high, when it's off aux to bat, I guess. And then I use the 3 vulnerability locators Polaron. This is not my personal favorite setup, because these consoles are not my favorite layout. But this is what I did with them, and did decent okay with it. Then I have the Elite Jem'Hadar Vanguard gunboats. Got the Elite version from the Starbase. Then we go to skills, which is the same one as this character has been using for quite some time now. Then I use Miracle Worker and Strategist. Miracle Worker for survivability and bugs. Intelligence might be slightly better, but both are pretty good. Then we go to traits. Context is for Kings, survivability, Anchored for the damage buff, Operative for the crit chance and critical severity, Fluidic Cocoon for the bonus energy damage when hit by kinetic, Go Down Fighting, one of the standard things I would advise any tech to use, because you can always use Go Down Fighting. Self-modulating fire for the extra shield penetration, cannon training, Fleet Coordinator, and Inspirational Leader. Then for the Starship traits I use emergency power, emergency weapon cycles, which you should, if you have the ship, you should use it on every build pretty much. Then Withering Barrage, not using the go for the kill or rapid fire because I don't have that ship. Honor Death, survivability trait. Cold Hearted, one of the standard traits by now, with the Oxabat build for the damage resistance debuff. And Promise of Ferocity for the damage increase or the weapon damage buff while combat is active. Then Space Reputation, the auxiliary power configuration for damage. Controlled countermeasures for the that applies with enemies under Cold Hearted. Then Precision, increase your critical hit chance, and Advanced Targeting, the plus crit severity, and the emergency or the energy refrequencer heals your when shooting. Then the active reputation, the standard space reputation active clickies. Then let's go to the stations. I'm using 2 SRO attacks from the Romulan Embassy, Fleet Embassy. Then I'm using Nyota Uhura for her traits, which is increased weapon stats and the leadership. And I use a Krenim Eng engineer to cool it down a little bit extra. And then a pirate efficient Psy Potato Head from the Alliance's mission. The actual skills I use are Tactical Team 1, Chemocide 1, Beta 1, Scatter Volley 2, Engineering Team 1, Oxabat 1, Emergency Power to Weapons 3, Oxabat 3, Engineering Team 1, Rally Point Marker 1, and Directed Energy Modulation 2. And then for the side abilities I use the Science Team 1 and the Hazard Emitters 2. And then lastly the active roster, which is the chance for stacking crit severity buff on firing energy weapons, the increased damage versus Borg, attack burn and beta restores hull when firing, and 3 technicians for the Oxabat build. That is this ship. I hope this was useful. I am working on getting the carrier done as well, so expect that build to be out soon as well. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.